Hello, history aficionados, and welcome back to the Alternate History channel. If you've ever been engrossed by the battles of ideology, power, and influence that shaped our world, then you're in the right place. And if this is your first time joining us, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more explorations into the what-ifs of history. Today, we're stepping into the turbulent era of the 17th century, a time when England was torn apart by civil strife, clashing ideals, and a battle for supremacy between the Crown and the Parliament. The English Civil War, a conflict that defined an era, saw the ultimate downfall of King Charles I and the rise of the parliamentary forces. But what if that wasn't the case? What if the royal banners flew victorious and Charles I had won the English Civil War? As we dive deep into this scenario, we'll uncover a realm where monarchs reign supreme and the course of nations takes an unexpected turn. In the mid-17th century, the British Isles were plunged into a tumultuous conflict that pitted monarch against parliament, neighbour against neighbour, and even family against family. The English Civil War, a series of armed confrontations and political machinations between the parliamentarians, or Roundheads, and the Royalists loyal to King Charles I, not only redefined the political landscape of England, but also sent shockwaves throughout the world, influencing the very ideas of governance and liberty. To understand the gravity of a Royalist victory, one must first grasp the essence of the conflict. The seeds of the war were sown from the moment Charles I ascended the throne in 1625. He believed in the divine right of kings, that monarchs were chosen by God and accountable only to him. This clashed dramatically with an increasingly powerful and assertive parliament, which saw itself as the protector of traditional English rights against an overreaching monarchy. Financial struggles, religious tensions, and disagreements over governance brought the two sides to a breaking point. In 1642, tensions boiled over into open conflict. Over the next several years, battles raged across England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. But what if the tides of war had turned in favour of the king? Imagine a battlefield where royalist strategies were more effective, or key parliamentarian leaders were captured or killed, altering the course of the conflict. In this alternate timeline, Charles I's forces gained the upper hand, winning decisive battles and gradually wearing down the parliamentarian opposition. In our history, the parliamentarians eventually triumphed, leading to the execution of Charles I and the establishment of Oliver Cromwell's Republican Commonwealth. But let's delve into a world where the Roundhead helmets were hung in defeat and the king's standard flew high over a victorious royalist army. What would England look like under an unchallenged Charles I? And how would this shift shape the future of the British Isles and beyond? With Charles I triumphantly at the helm following the Civil War, England found itself on the cusp of a political and cultural transformation. The immediate aftermath was characterised by Charles consolidating his royal power. Emboldened by victory and feeling vindicated in his belief in the divine right of kings, he would undoubtedly seek to suppress any remnants of parliamentarian influence, ensuring no challenge to his authority arose again. The political landscape would shift dramatically. Charles, labelling the former parliament as rebels and traitors, would likely dissolve it. In its place, a new parliament would emerge, predominantly filled with royalist sympathisers and loyalists. This new legislative body, rather than acting as a check on royal power, might serve more as a ceremonial entity, echoing the king's wishes and mandates. Charles's reign would also usher in religious changes. Given his marriage to a Catholic queen and frequent accusations of harbouring Catholic sympathies, it's likely he would adopt a more lenient stance towards Catholicism. While England might not see a full-blown return to the Catholic fold, there would undoubtedly be increased liberties for Catholics. This could manifest in the form of a more syncretic state religion, merging Anglican and Catholic practices. Economically, a triumphant and united England would turn its gaze overseas. With civil discord behind them, the English could look to aggressively expand their colonial territories in the Americas and fortify their trade ventures in the East Indies. Such aspirations might bring England into earlier confrontations with other European colonial powers, especially as they vied for dominance in the New World. Culturally, the re-established royal court, now gleaming in full splendour, would become a hub for the arts. Charles's patronage would likely stimulate a cultural renaissance, with literature, music, and art echoing Royalist sentiments and ideals. Yet, amid this Royalist resurgence, the fates of key parliamentarian figures would hang in the balance. Prominent leaders like Oliver Cromwell would face dire consequences, be it execution, imprisonment, or exile. But, even as they vanished from the public eye, their revolutionary ideals wouldn't perish. These concepts would simmer beneath the surface of this Royalist England, possibly setting the stage for future upheavals or movements advocating for republicanism and parliamentary rights. Under Charles I's firm grip and a Royalist England, the monarchy's authority would reach heights previously unparalleled. Yet history has shown us that unchecked power often gives birth to its own adversaries. Even in the backdrop of a triumphant monarchy, whispers of discontent and visions of democracy would lurk in the shadows. Europe itself would view England with a combination of awe and apprehension. The re-establishment of a strong monarch would undoubtedly embolden other royal houses in Europe to assert their dominance. Moreover, this shift in power dynamics could even reposition England in European politics. Its alliances and enmities could be reshaped based on this new political terrain. A Catholic-tolerant England could forge stronger ties with Spain and France, changing the diplomatic balances in Europe. Across the Atlantic, the American colonies would experience a ripple effect. A Royalist victory in England might lead to more stringent control over the colonies. Given the likelihood of a more Catholic-friendly England, colonies like Maryland might see an increase in Catholic settlers. Furthermore, the colonies might not have as much autonomy as they did historically, potentially delaying any thoughts of independence or shaping the nature of such movements. Returning to the Isles, it's worth noting that a vanquished parliament would not translate to a defeated ideology. The ideas of republicanism and democracy, once introduced, have a tenacious way of surviving. Over time, they might resurface, potentially sparking new conflicts or reform movements in the future. England might see a series of revolts or uprisings as newer generations strive to regain the parliamentary rights that were once within grasp. Lastly, the world of art, literature, and philosophy would be starkly different. The Royalist victory would shape cultural narratives. Gone would be the puritanical suppression of the arts, replaced instead with grandiose depictions of divine monarchs and the natural order of kingship. Yet, in clandestine gatherings, forbidden literature promoting democracy and critiquing monarchy might still circulate, revealing that the spirit of rebellion, once kindled, is hard to extinguish. In this alternative timeline, England would have walked a different path. While the monarchy's glory would shine brightly for a time, the undercurrents of change, of a nation grappling with its own identity, would forever remain. And there we have it, fellow history enthusiasts, an England where the monarchy's victory over the parliamentary forces set the nation on a path far removed from the one we know. A realm where the divine right of kings remained unchallenged, affecting not only the British Isles but also the wider world. The English Civil War was a turning point in shaping the political and cultural ethos of modern Britain. By changing its outcome, we don't just reshape the fate of a nation, but we also provoke ripples that influence global dynamics for centuries to come. So if you've enjoyed our journey into a world where Charles I reigned victorious, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. What other pivotal moments in history would you like us to delve into next? Thank you for being with us on this exploration, and until our next historical What If, keep questioning and keep imagining.